Good morning. Happy, was it voting day? No, Thursday. Amazon, what's today?
Today is Thursday, August 17th. If you'd like,
Thursday.
I can tell you the weather. Quote of the
No,
day.
Amazon.
Stock market.
Flash briefing.
Jamie, here's the latest from your flash briefing.
There we go.
In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm
Thursday.
Janine Herbst. As residents of West Maui start to head back to what's left of their homes, the recovery from last week's wildfires continues. But some are frustrated by what they say is a slow recovery. NPR's Gabriel Spitzer has more from Lahaina.
There's a lot to be cautious about as they go through the burning. For one thing, it's extraordinarily difficult to identify and even to find human remains. I talked with a forensic anthropologist, and she said it really takes a trained expert eye to spot, say, bone fragments in the rubble. And then there's a huge concern about toxics. This fire burned so many buildings and vehicles that it unleashed just a whole stew of hazardous chemicals. So search and rescue teams are moving extremely methodically.
NPR's Gabriel Spitzer. At least 111 people are dead, thousands are homeless, and more than 1,000 are listed as missing. Officials in Yellowknife, Canada have ordered phased evacuations as the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories is threatened by nearby wildfires. Officials say those fires could reach the city by the weekend. Dan Carpenter reports about 7,000 people, 15% of the population in that territory, have already been forced to leave their homes.
Northwest Territories Environment Minister Shane Thompson says those areas of the city at greatest risk will be evacuated first.
We are asking all those residents
You
to
think?
be evacuated by Friday
You're at
at
greatest
noon.
risk.
You
You
put
need to get
yourself
out of
and
here
others
first.
at risk if you
Really?
choose to stay later.
The evacuation order comes a day after the territory declared a state of emergency. Thompson says the city is in no immediate risk, but there is a short window for people to leave. Wildfire officials say there is a plan as the fire approaches. That includes a line of water systems and sprinklers which surround the city. For NPR News, I'm Dan Carpenter in Toronto.
The head of NATO, in response to a comment by his chief of staff, says it's up to Ukraine to decide when the conditions are right to join any negotiations with Moscow. NPR's Rob Schmitz has more on Jens Stoltenberg's comment.
Of course, because they've had negotiation on the table.
On
It's
Tuesday,
always been
Stoltenberg's chief of staff
waiting around for Ukraine to jump on board with the
may in the
negotiation.
end give up territory to Russia as part of a
That's the
deal
way it's
to
always
end
been.
the
You're not
war.
telling us nothing new.
He later admitted he regretted the comment. Stoltenberg said only Ukraine can decide when conditions are right for negotiations and what is an acceptable solution. At its summit last month, NATO said it
Constantly
would
been
invite
waiting on
Ukraine to
Ukraine.
join the military alliance when its members agree and conditions
Because they
are
had
met.
other powers that
But
be
the country
come in
has
and
the
tell
right
them,
to
no,
choose its
don't
own path
negotiate.
independently of Russia. Stoltenberg emphasized that Russian President Vladimir Putin has underestimated NATO
And at
and
the
that
cost
NATO
of
will
lives,
support
they're
Ukraine
like, fine, we
until
won't
it wins the
negotiate.
war.
Just give us some
Rob
money.
Schmitz, NPR News, Berlin.
Killing our own
Wall Street is
citizens.
trading
but-
in mixed
Yeah,
territory
sure,
at
we'll
this
stop
hour.
the
The Dow is
negotiations
up
and take more
46
money.
points. The Nasdaq is down 53. The S&P 500 is up a fraction. You're listening to NPR News from Washington. The nation's most powerful financial watchdog agency is drafting new rules to rein in data brokers. As NPR's Chris Arnold reports, these companies make money by selling all sorts of personal information about millions of Americans.
These days, there
Of
are
course they
companies
do.
basically doing surveillance on us all the time. What
Yeah,
websites we
thanks
click
to the
on,
government. They
location,
started it.
live, and
I'm
some
sure
are
they
selling
approved of it.
information
They
that's
probably get a cut.
extremely sensitive.
Lists of people who are suffering from dementia or survivors of domestic violence.
Rohit Chopra is the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He's worried about scammers using this to target people. His agency is now crafting a new set of proposed rules
No
for data
problem.
brokers.
Just don't speak to the
There has
scammers.
to be
Don't
some
open emails
boundaries
to people you don't know.
on where firms
Send everything
can
to spam,
invade
you
your
good.
personal privacy.
The Bureau is also getting input from businesses as it crafts the rules. Chris Arnold, NPR News.
The number of people applying for first-time unemployment claims fell last week. The Labor Department says initial jobless claims were down 11,000 to a seasonally adjusted 239,000. The less
Yeah, just
volatile
'cause they didn't
quarterly
apply
payment
for
average rose
unemployment don't
3,000
mean
to
they employed.
234,000. Walmart's raising its full-year
Means they don't like the
forecast
freaking
after
system.
beating Wall Street expectations after grocery and fuel sales rose in the second quarter. E-commerce sales also rose 24%. Walmart says it saw modest improvements, though, in big-ticket and non-discretionary items like home goods. I'm Janine Herbst. and you're listening to NPR News from Washington.
NPR Plus is a new way to support
Amazon.
public media.
Skip.
In NASA news, NASA SpaceX Crew 6 will answer media questions at 2:40 p.m. EDT Wednesday, August 23rd, about their mission aboard International Space Station prior to returning to Earth. NASA astronaut Laurel
Yeah, that's
O'Hara
a
will
question
virtually
exactly
discuss
at
her
that time.
upcoming mission to the International Space Station during live interviews ahead of launch. La NASA invita a los estudiantes de escuela secundaria y preparatoria de Estados Unidos a presentar ideas de experimentos para vuelos de prueba a bordo de un globo de gran altitud de un módulo de aterrizaje propulsado por cohete en el tercer desafío. Estudiantil Tech Rise. NASA is calling on middle and high school students across the country to submit experiment ideas for a high-altitude balloon or rocket-powered lander test flight in the third Tech Rise Student Challenge. Ya está abierto el proceso de adaptación de las medidas de comunicación para el próximo lanzamiento de la nave espacial Psyche de la NASA en su misión UN asteroide único y rico en metales que orbita alrededor del Sol entre Marte y Júpiter.
You know, balloon's not
And
gonna make it
weather.
out of our atmosphere.
In Seattle, there's an excessive heat watch in effect until Thursday, August
But maybe you
17th,
kids can
10
figure out a
p.m.
way. We
The
want a
current
balloon that
weather
can
is
float up in
71
space.
degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and
Good
sun.
luck.
Today's forecast has mostly sunny weather, with a high of 86 degrees and a low
Not
of
to mention
61
it'll blow up
degrees.
if it gets up
From NASA.
out there.
NASA SpaceX Crew 6 will answer media questions at
Maybe fill it with
2:40
some
p.m.
helium or
EDT
something
Wednesday,
to
August
keep it from
23rd,
imploding.
about their
I
mission
don't know.
aboard International Space Station prior to returning to Earth. NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara will virtually discuss her upcoming mission to the International Space Station during live interviews ahead of launch. La NASA invita a los estudiantes de escuela secundaria y preparatoria de Estados Unidos a presentar ideas de experimentos para vuelos de prueba a bordo de un globo de gran altitud o de un módulo de aterrizaje propulsado por cohete en el tercer desafío. Estudiantil Tech Rise.
No glasses.
NASA is calling on middle and high school students across the country to submit experiment ideas for a high-altitude balloon or rocket-powered lander test flight in the third Tech Rise Student Challenge.
Okay, so it's a student challenge.
Ya
To
está
create a balloon
abierto
that
el
will survive as
proceso de
long as possible
adaptación
till
de
it
los
blows
medios de
up in the
comunicación
atmosphere.
para el próximo lanzamiento de la nave espacial
So
Psyche
it's
de
gonna
la
have to have
NASA
helium
en
to
su
rise or some
misión
hot
UN
air.
asteroide único y rico en metales que orbita alrededor del Sol entre Marte y Júpiter. That's all for now.
If you could have some way to regulate it, as the pressure increases upon it, the pressure inside the balloon increases as well. There you go, kids. Find out a way to regulate that pressure. All right. Peace, love, happiness, prosperity. Happy Thor's Day. Oh, recently I learned a little bit more about the Thor amulet, which I don't have. I only have this Celtic Norse cross one. So with Thor's hammer, what I learned, is directly linked. The amulet is directly linked to the story of Odin, or not Odin, Thor, taking out the serpent, right? But it represents the chaos of the world, and so it's a protection amulet, Thor's hammer, to protect you from the chaos of the world. And so in that story where he beats up that serpent monster that was supposedly beating back the chaos, keeping the people safe, because he's a protector, protects his town, protects his people. It's a protection amulet. If anyone was wondering what the Thor's hammer was, yeah, it protects you from the chaos of the world. That's not a bad thing, man. You wear that and your cross together. Whew. Maybe throw this one in just for a little extra, you good. Have a good day.